Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Stand Up Guys podcast, episode 42. Man, I almost forgot the name there. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Fred Weasley to my George Weasley, Lester Jones.
Oh, I don't know those.
Yeah, I'd like to say that means.
I mean, I know they're from Harry Potter. That's about all I know.
Weasley brothers. Okay.
They're like Ron's brothers.
Okay.
Like the twins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
So you both suck in that situation.
I mean, even if I would have made myself Ron, that's not much better, right? He's considered a loser, isn't he?
I'll be the Ron to your
He's a
Jenny.
main character.
But then I guess you get a bone Harry Potter.
All right, I guess Ron does end up with what's her name, Hermione, right?
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I should have went Ron.
Yeah.
Plus, I think either Fred or George ends up dying. I believe.
No.
Yeah, I thought they both
what?
died.
Do they?
I think one of them dies in like one of the last movies.
I don't remember that.
And the guy who plays Ron Weasley, he's actually financially doing really well in life. He's made good investments and stuff, so he's the guy to be.
I was gonna say, does he still have an acting career?
No, he just invests.
I've seen him in a couple things. I saw him as a cop. It seems like I saw him somewhere else too.
And of course, rounding out the panel today, we got the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, doing the deed and spreading that seed, the rootin' tootin', skeet shootin', filling up pies with the might of 50 guys. I ain't telling no lies. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Those were all lies.
One of them's got to be true. All right, guys, before we get into things, any good stories from the week? Do you guys do anything?
Let's see. We're planning on going to the beach. I did watch a lot of Rick and Morty over again.
Ooh, how was that?
I love Rick
Oh,
and
so
Morty.
you'd already seen like everything
yeah.
up to date?
Yeah, I'm waiting on season 5, but it was just to get my feet wet, I guess. Just wanted to get back into it.
I haven't watched a ton of new stuff this week besides Invincible. That's pretty much the only new
I
show that
said
I
I was going to
watched.
watch it. What do you think of it?
I liked it.
You watched the whole season?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's only like I think 8 episodes long, so it's not like a huge time commitment or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I liked it. I've read the comic, and it's been a while since I read like the beginning of the comic because it was years ago. But I think it's it strays a little bit, but all the major beats from the comic are still there. And yeah, I think it was pretty good. You watched it as well, right?
Right, I finished the first season out.
Okay.
Now you had never read the comic, right?
No.
So it was more like of a surprise to you. What do you think?
I mean, I thought some of the episodes were maybe a little slower off, like slightly, but the twist for the season and the whole how it all played out, I thought was pretty good at the end.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've seen the end or part of the end. I won't ruin it for anybody, but I wonder how it
Ruined
gets
it for
there.
yourself.
Yeah, I ruined it for. I didn't mean to, but it showed up on TikTok.
The old TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok ruining people's lives. Yeah, man. Other than that, I've just been watching like reruns of CSI and like just like nothing really to speak of. And then what you've just been watching more Legion as well.
Yeah, I sneak in an episode of Legion pretty much every night. I've been watching one, so still going pretty good.
It is like super abstract. It's hard to.
There are times I kind of wish they'd reel it in a little bit. Like it gets out there, and you're just like, I could use something in the real world.
Yeah,
but
it's fun.
yeah, it's good. It's got a lot of conflict in it. They've been keeping it pretty interesting.
All right, guys, should we get this show on the road and see if we can find some bizarre news stories from around the globe? As tradition dictates, AJ, we'll start with you.
All right. I thought this was a weird story until my mom told me that my great uncle did the same thing. So this will be interesting. Woman forces friends to mourn her at fake funeral when she lies in coffins for hours. We'd be lying if we said we hadn't ever pondered over what might happen when we pass away. Is there an afterlife? How many people will come to your funeral? Stuff like that. But while wistfully thinking about her life after death in is a fairly normal, if a little morbid, thing to do. One woman has taken it a whole lot further by organizing her own funeral. Except she's still alive. In fact, Mayra Alonso was so eager to know what it feels like to die that she forced her nearest and dearest to mourn her at a fake funeral, where she lay in a rented coffin for hours pretending to be dead. The 59-year-old from the Dominican Republic staged the rehearsal funeral, if you will, back in April in the city of Santiago, where she dressed head to toe in white and even stuffed cotton buds up her nose to emanate a real corpse. The weirdest part of it all, her family and friends actually went along with it, taking turns to walk up to the casket and cry, presumably fake tears, and saying goodbye to their beloved Myra. She wasn't actually going anywhere just yet. They all sat around enjoying food, drinks, and recalling their favorite memories with her while she laid there and listened, which come to think of it, would be a pretty good ego boost. It only costs like $1,000 to do.
I mean, it sounds like an interesting little ceremony, but like I'd be pressed to show up unless there was free alcohol involved. When they got to the drinks, I was like, yeah, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's going to turn into a party.
Yeah, that's what I would think. It's going to be a fun time. But if you're all like just crying and mourning and actually doing that stuff, like a real wake, then it sucks. You know, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, I don't know.
So here's the story of my great uncle.
You don't love me. That's how you find out who really loves you.
Apparently, like he was well off, and he had a lot of friends in Pakistan as well. So he invited them all to like a ceremony to celebrate his like death. You know, but he didn't like pretend to be dead. They did poetry and they drank and they had a good time. And they celebrated, you know, like it was more like a Mexican style, the way they celebrate death, right? Like,
oh, like Day of the Dead.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's what he did. But yeah, it was kind of similar, I guess.
I thought you were gonna say because he was well off, like he does fake his own death, and then like whoever comes, like, oh, that person's in the will, that person, you didn't come, you're out.
That's true. Yeah.
I think there's like a Robert Duvall like and Bill Murray movie where like I think Robert Duvall does the same thing where he like fakes his own death or something, and like I think Bill Murray's like the funeral director. I've never seen it, but I think it might be based on a true story.
Like in a tangent here, but how did Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's die?
Oh God, I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. I don't know.
Nobody knows, right?
I don't even know who it was. I didn't even know he was dead.
You didn't know the plot of Weekend at Bernie's was that he died, and then the guys are like making it look
I
like
knew that
he's
was
still
the
alive.
plot. I thought you were talking about him dying in real life.
No.
He's talking about in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Natural causes? I have no idea.
Huh. Yeah, I was wondering. Because, like, first of all, if you're his family, you're mortified that people did that with his dead body.
Isn't there a Weekend at Bernie's too?
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my God.
What'd they do? Like dig him
The
up?
ripening.
He's like part skeleton shining through.
I hope they embalmed him in that one. Oh, my God.
They have him like taxidermy. Man, like I would be afraid to like stage my own death in the fake funeral just because like I feel like either nobody would show up or like they'd show up and like
They wouldn't
God
come to the real
damn,
one.
shouldn't have made this open casket. Holy shit.
Was he hit by a car?
Stop taking a piss, you guys.
He doesn't need that watch anymore.
Hey, but if you are doing that, and like, let's say you're in the casket and all the people are like sad or whatever, like, at what point do you jump out and you're like, surprise?
At the very end.
Naked from the waist down.
It's so fucking hot in here. You guys are taking forever.
There was I told you about this. There was a dude who, in his funeral, he had like a video playing of him like telling jokes and having a good time and like, laughing. And he was like, you know, I'm alive, and people were like laughing at his funeral. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I would like to make one of those like videos where like if you're watching this, I'm already dead or whatever. But then like I don't know, do something clever, or funny with it. I don't know what it would be, but there's got to be like, and I should do it now so that like if I die when I'm old, like people can see, like I planned this.
If you're watching this, I'm already dead. You're like 110.
All right. Anything else on that one, guys?
No, that's it.
All right.
All right.
Manifesto round 1.
Wisconsin man arrested after tasing mom on Mother's Day.
Oh, what?
If it was any other day, it'd be fine. But Mother's Day.
I know.
But yeah, apparently this guy and his girlfriend and their baby, they were living with the mom, and he got pissed off because he lost his phone, and somehow this turned into an altercation where he tased her.
What? Man. Yeah, that I don't know. That she's living in her house. He's got his own kid, and he tases her.
It's like,
he
you know
lost
what,
his
Mom?
phone. Jeez, frustration.
So, like, they didn't have more details about, like, how it escalated and, like...
Not really, no. Apparently they've had domestic issues before, though. But yeah, he lost his phone and he was upset.
This is going to end up like that guy I talked about last week in Spain that ended up eating his mom.
Oh, no.
This is exactly the kind of guy
Yeah.
that this escalates to.
Yeah. I don't know. At least he's got a kid around that might try to, like, set an
Yeah.
example for. Except he tased his
apparently
mom
he's
on
not,
Mother's
yeah.
Day.
That's when you grow up and then your kid fucks you up and you're like, why? I learned it from you, Dad.
I learned it from watching you tase your mother.
Yeah. And kids love their grandparents. They're not going to
Yeah.
be cool with that.
Unless she's just a real bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Then she earned it. Yeah.
If you're living in someone's house, they can be a bitch still.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, if you're living in there.
Yeah, if your like roof over your head depends on a person, you wouldn't think you'd be tasing that person.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Anything else to add to that one?
Just a short book.
But just to add to that, that's how you know he knows his mother loves him. That's why he did it. You know? Because like he knew he could get away. She'll take me back, I'll still be here, she loves me. You know, like anybody else, he knows he'd get kicked out, thrown in the streets, or beat up, or cops, whatever, all that stuff. But he knew his mother would like let him get away with it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. Latest internet fad has people eating rotten meat to get high.
You get high off eating rotten meat?
I guess. It reminds me of that one SpongeBob. It's not tainted meat, it's painted meat.
You just get so fucking sick you wish you were going to die.
Let's see. Internet fads and memes are usually pretty harmless, but sometimes they cross into genuinely dangerous territory. For example, take the Tide Pod eating thing that plagued social media some time back. But this latest thing leaves Tide Pods in the dust. It's not only potentially more dangerous, but also infinitely more disgusting. Apparently, some people have gotten it in their heads that it's a good idea to eat raw spoiled meat. And we're not talking about a steak that went old a couple days ago either. This is about meat that's in advanced stages of decomposition. We're talking about meat that's green and brown and swarming with bacterial colonies. You know, the genuinely rotten stuff that wouldn't look at a place on a death metal album cover. Some of these people claim that they just prefer their meat a little bit decomposed. They say that it just tastes better that way. I mean, who thinks this? But others are after a special kind of high that you can supposedly get from this high meat, as they call it. Reportedly, the rotten meat produces a sense of euphoria after consumption. We're going to go out on a leg here and say that's probably because you're experiencing some kind of food poisoning previously unknown to science. But could it be that there's actually something to high meat? Can you really get high from eating a rotten chunk of beef? According to Singaporean dietitian Naras Lapsus, it is possible that consuming decomposed meat could produce an altered state of consciousness, but that's generally not a good thing. If you're leaving meat out of anything from days to months to years, who knows what kind of bacteria are going to grow? And some of those bacteria might have chemical properties that are going to give you a high or hallucination or feeling of euphoria, Lapsus told Vice. So yes, you might start feeling all kinds of weird things when the indescribable things growing on your rotten steak start attacking your system. That said, there's absolutely no scientific evidence you can get high from eating high meat, but there's plenty of evidence you could seriously mess up your stomach or worse. Lapsus says eating spoiled meat is a lucky dip. You might get high, or you might start spewing the contents of your stomach out of your orifices you didn't even know could do that. Letting meat spoil or rot is completely uncontrollable process. So you just don't know what kinds of bacteria could be growing on the meat. There's all sorts of bacteria: Salmonella, Shigella, E. coli. All of these things that our human body might really struggle with breaking down. If we're eating rotten foods, the question is, will our stomach acids do a good enough job to stop them from poisoning us? And the answer is often no, he explained. And when your stomach fails, you usually get food poisoning. In case you're lucky enough to have never experienced that before, it comes with an absolutely hilarious list of symptoms, including dehydration, explosive vomiting, volcanic bowel movements, and potential damage to your large intestine. If you're particularly unlucky, you might get botulism. It's an illness where certain foodborne bacteria start creating nerve toxins inside your body. Symptoms of botulism usually start with the weaknesses in the muscles that control the eyes, face, mouth, and throat. This weakness may spread to the neck, arms, torso, and legs. Botulism can also weaken the muscles involved with breathing, which can lead to difficulty breathing and even death. So, I mean, it goes on, but yeah, I just thought it was weird that, anyone would, first of all, even try rotted meat. And the fact that, like, some people are saying they get a sense of euphoria from it, or even just prefer the taste to cooked meat. It seems weird to me.
Yeah. Who are these frontiersmen of getting high? Like, you can get high off weed, you can drink alcohol, you can do anything, but who are these people who are like, no, none of this is the kind of high I'm looking for. I'm going to try some weird...
rotten meat.
Yeah, like that's... How do you even know that's a high you want? I mean, I would think the person who tried the rotten meat the first time, it was an accident. It must have been, right? Like...
Well, I mean, certain animals will, so I mean, maybe if you were desperate, you might...
Yeah, like desperate. Maybe you're homeless or something like that.
I think humans have like a pretty, like, concentrated acid in our stomachs, but still, I don't know.
I do sometimes wonder, like, yeah, like you were saying, like how people find out that certain things get you high. Like, even like tobacco, like in marijuana. I'm guessing like there was a fire and people inhaled the smoke and figured it out. I'm guessing, because who would actually think about like rolling it up and like smoking it into your lungs?
Heating, all that stuff, yeah.
And then like those like toads you can lick and get high from. Like who was the pioneer that was like, hey, there's like that foam coming out of that frog, I'm gonna like, lick that and see what happens. So weird.
No, but you know what, there are scientists who like do taste things to like, they were able to find certain diseases in people like in the early 19th century where they would taste their urine and they would find out if they had diabetes or something. I'm not sure. Something like that. There
are some, I have heard some different ones.
I think poop was also something that was tasted too.
There's probably some poop taster somewhere.
Yeah.
The piss taster. I don't know if you're ill, but you've been having a lot of asparagus.
Vanilla. I was thinking I had a couple lines of thought during this post, but I remember reading like an article, or maybe I think it was like a chapter in a book where apparently like people who were taking slaves from Africa, like there's a picture like in one of these, I don't know if it's like a woodcut or something, where like the guy was like licking the slaves before they put them on the ship.
Oh.
And someone was like kind of like wondering if they were maybe tasting for salt, because maybe they'd have a better chance of surviving if they retained salt or something. But then it was like linking into being a possible reason why like American blacks have higher chances of having hypertension.
Oh.
Like, it was a weird thread, but
wait, what were they doing?
So they taste their skin for salt. And like, well, this was the hypothesis, because he couldn't figure out why they would be doing it, and they were using it as some kind of method to determine who to take and who not to take.
Weird.
Or he's just a really weird guy.
Yeah.
Like,
this creep show.
God damn it, Jeff. Again.
Yeah, Licky. Fucking Licky McGee over there.
We got a good one, boss.
Some other guy's
Real
like,
salty.
I gotta get this.
The slave's like, low.
You're gonna lick me.
If you're gonna enslave
Looking
me,
for
at
some
least
salt.
at least give me something.
I was also watching, this is a different thread, but what was that guy who did, was it Bizarre Foods?
Andrew Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Zimmerman, yeah. And there's at least like 1 or 2 episodes where he ate like some traditional dish, but it would have rotted meat in it. And it's like one of the few things where you could tell he was pretty grossed out. But apparently, I mean, is a thing somewhere. But I mean, there's also like ways of making alcohol out of rotting stuff. Like I know, like rotting fish and different things. Like
They make alcohol out of everything.
But yeah, that's got to be nasty as fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, or you get like people who eat those like 1,000-year-old eggs or whatever they're called.
1,000-year-old eggs?
Well, they're not really 1,000 years old, but they bury them and they let them ferment, and it's just nasty.
Yeah.
Anything fermented. I'm not-
Yeah. I had a college class once with this Asian guy, and like he was talking about how like where he's from, like people will fill barrels with like, I know it had milk in it and maybe something else, and they would basically just like bury them in the ground, let them ferment for a long time, and then dig them up and drink. He said it was fucking nasty.
People will do anything to get drunk.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so nasty.
Oh. So, I mean, that was to get drunk? They did that? The milk?
I mean, it was alcohol. Yeah, it fermented and.
Now, part of me is also like, what's the line between that and like aged meat? Because people say like aged steaks are delicious, which I mean, I think basically you dry them out and then they get like a moldy crust on the outside, and then they just cut off the outside and cook it up, and people say that's delicious.
Yeah, it costs a fortune, that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need the time and the space to condition it, and then like you're cutting a chunk of it off and throwing it away.
Put like tons of salt all over it and stuff.
Yeah, so I'd like to try one.
I'd be nervous to try it. I think if it was like okayed by like the Food and Drug Administration.
Well, yeah, I mean they sell them in like butcher shops and like fancy restaurants and stuff. So I mean, I'm sure they're fine. But
yeah, I'll try it then.
All right. Well, that was my story. AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. And because I said I would try it, let's go on this topic right here. This one's explains a lot about me. Boys line up for a chance to feel girls' period pain. After trying out a special machine that simulates a girl's period pain, it is safe to say that male students at a local college in Zhengzhou, central China's Henan province, did not like it one bit. In a video circulating on China's social media, male students who attached the machine to their stomachs for the experience were seen furrowing their brows and twisting their faces. One male volunteer said the cramping pain felt awful. The pain added up little by little, and at the end it feels like you're being repeatedly punched from the inside out. Female viewers responded with warm feedback, suggesting that it was this kind of activity that should be promoted nationwide. Although guys won't feel the same pain as women, it indicates that men are starting to have more understanding of women, and just basically trying to treat equality and stuff.
yeah, it gives you a little empathy, I guess.
But I was saying I'm an idiot because I would try that. I would wear that thing and be like, I wonder how it feels.
Well, here's the thing: is like the same concept. I've seen a couple people do this in videos. But it's like it simulates like labor and childbirth. Like it really, like it goes for it apparently.
Like on your beehole?
Well, they put like the electrodes. I want to say like on your stomach, like down here, and then just like it.
Oh man, to simulate birth?
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's strong.
I don't know. I'd work my way up to that.
If you like one period cramp, you're like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
I am done. The women can have this.
But I am like a Darwin Award. Like I would get tased. Like I would try that. I don't know why I would.
I think tasing would be okay.
Yeah, and maced. That's horrible. I've seen the reactions of people, but just to try it, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I got the gas in the military, which I think is the same thing as mace. So I mean, you cough and you snort and you puke and mucus runs and all that.
Yeah.
But I knew a cop and he said like for part of their training they had to be tased and they had to be pepper sprayed. And he said he'd rather be tased every single day for the rest of his life than to ever be pepper sprayed again. So I was like, that's...
Okay.
Pepper spray is nasty, man.
That's one of the reasons, like, I don't really think the cops have to carry guns. Like, they could just tase and pepper spray people.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the range.
Or, like, beanbag people.
Yeah, those are effective.
Like, there's a lot of, like,
I
other
would assume
methods.
you get some decent range out of, like, the rubber bullets and stuff.
Yeah, rubber bullets.
Rubber bullet can still kill you, but...
Yeah, so can the beanbags, but they're, they're called less
Safer.
lethal.
Yeah.
It would seem like you would result in less death, I would think, I would hope.
I have seen a video of a guy who got tased and beast his way through it and still fought the cop. So that was incredible.
That sounds like one of those meth stories.
Yeah, that's
probably.
true too. Yeah.
We shot him 14 times. And he's still coming.
Yeah, I've seen a video of that too. That's insane. Yeah.
We should make like a meth Popeye and like he smokes meth and it's like da 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 da. He gets big old muscles, meth muscles.
He's like he's just attacking ATMs and stuff.
Now they have this machine where guys can feel the period. Do they have a machine yet that lets women know what it feels like to get hit in the balls?
Yeah, I've heard women like say they don't think it feels like anything. Like they're like, oh, they're just overreacting. No, ladies.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think there was something similar, like with like electrodes. I think I saw that too, and like they'd like fall down and be like puking and stuff. Yeah, I don't know what you got to stimulate, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I told this story. I might have. I'm not sure. I hope I'm not repeating myself. But one time I was playing basketball.
Oh, I think you
told
did. I think you did
okay.
tell us.
All right.
Yeah,
But I've already told it.
Yeah, you got kicked by some kid.
Yeah. Whew.
All right, manifesto round 2 already.
All right, movement to India. So in I'm probably saying this wrong, Gazapur district, they found like a bunch of bodies like floating in the river, and they think it's linked to COVID. But they pulled 71 bodies out of the river. I was like, Jesus.
My parents told me. I mean, everybody's pretty skeptical in my family of the Indian government.
Yeah.
So they think the numbers are 10 times higher than what was being reported when it comes to like deaths. And,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is horrible, man. And now they're putting nets over the rivers to stop people from throwing bodies in because they don't have enough wood to burn all the bodies.
Right. I heard, there's a wood shortage or something
Yeah.
said in there.
Yeah. I mean, 71, probably more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was just like one district. And I was like, if this is like a district.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But it sounded like a short time period and like, fairly localized area. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
It's, and then like all the water is contaminated.
Oh yeah, I mean if you have a bunch of bodies in the water, I mean yeah.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be a sacred river that people visit, and they even bathe themselves in it. And now they can't do that, but they actually did it just recently. So there's probably a bunch of people who got contaminated because of that.
Man, that's awful.
Yeah, it's horrible. The virus over there, they said it could have been handled much better.
Well, it's going like really badly right now, right?
Yeah, it's really bad now, and it's a new variant.
Oh, okay.
That I don't know if it's killing more people than it would if it was just normal coronavirus or what. And I'm not even sure if they know if the shots that we have here, the vaccines, will work on that variant yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I heard because the stories going around now that so many people in America are choosing not to get the vaccine, that we might not reach herd immunity. But I read somewhere that can also lead to the virus mutating even more than it would if more people got the vaccine, and so it just causes more and more problems.
Yeah. My mom, she was in India. She left right before this pandemic got really bad. Yeah, she got here a few days before, and then they shut down flights. They did all that stuff.
Oh, she barely made it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you got a new variant, you don't want nobody wants to see you coming over probably.
Yeah. So she's already had her first shot. She's getting her second shot soon.
Yeah, we're both scheduled to get our first shot tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
Have you got one yet?
I was supposed to get it today, but or actually last week even, but I've had to reschedule a couple times because I wanted to go at the same time as my sister, and she's got a cough right now, so they said to wait until it's over.
Everyone I work with that's got it, like they seem to get sick the day after, and then like the next day they're pretty much back again. So it's like one day where you kind of feel shitty afterwards. It seems like.
Yeah. Same with both my parents.
Let's see. Was that all for that one?
Yeah.
So India's really having a man. Your mom might be lucky she got out when she did.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we probably could talk about Corona a little bit more. I watched this week. Rand Paul was questioning Fauci about like how potentially America had been funding the Wuhan lab, or they'd sent grant money over there.
Oh.
But also like kind of talking about like the odds of this particular variant like springing up like right next to a lab. There's a decent chance that it's man-made.
Yeah, I've heard that some. I don't know which politicians have said it. I've only heard this from my mom and dad. They heard the news that some politicians have come forward and said that they do believe it was made in the lab.
He didn't. Rand Paul didn't directly say that it was, but he said the case was strong enough they should be investigating it. Which they've also tested like a ton of bats and animals and like whatever. They're looking for the variant in like. In nature, and haven't really found it, which is also kind of a bit of a condemnation that it maybe came from that lab.
But I don't understand what their logic is, because they had an outbreak over there.
Yeah, the fact that it happened exactly at the same lab site pretty much is that
definitely big. Makes it a giveaway kind of. But I mean, why'd they do that? Like, if they did, I don't know. But
well, it's basically something that happens accidentally.
Oh, okay.
And because like the researchers they're gathering bats there because bats do have coronavirus like types and stuff, and they gather the virus and look for types and study it. But yeah, apparently it's just something it's hard to contain really, and then you get leaks. And apparently there have been a number of other viruses that have escaped from different locations, and it's just not as safe as I might like to think it should be.
Yeah, I watched an episode of Bill Maher like maybe a month or two ago, and he had some scientists on there, and they basically said that, yeah, the virus had a lot of hallmarks of being created in a lab, and they seemed to be, it sounded like to me, like they figured it probably was lab-born rather than
just the statistical nature of it makes it seem unlikely.
Yeah, I'm more scared of biological weapons than like even nuclear warfare.
I mean, I'm sure they have some rotten ones just sitting around.
Yeah.
I guarantee they do.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about getting rid of nukes, but let's get rid of those somehow, like first. Please. Like, I mean, they'll kill you horribly. A nuke, at least, like you can't snap, but yeah. But, I mean, and they can wipe out the whole world, A nuke, maybe you knock out like a city, which is horrible, but man, you can't stop this. I don't know. Yeah,
there's a comic book series that I read years back called Think Tank, and like it's a fictional story, but a lot of the things in it are based on like real science that the government's working on and things like DARPA stuff and other kind of stuff, and like one of them is and then the guy usually in like the back matter of the book, he'll kind of put links and stories to the real stuff. And like there's one that's like they're working on, and they probably already have it, who knows, a virus that can be keyed to a very specific DNA structure. So he's like, it's possible that they could make a biological weapon and it could, be shot down in by Israel, Palestine, and be set to only wipe out like one of them and leave the others fine, And I'm like, man, that's pretty fucked up. If they like really like figure that out, I mean, that's pretty scary, really. Because I mean, you can just commit genocide on a very specific group of people. And yeah, that to me, that because the thing about nukes is I'm not super scared about nukes because I mean it's just mutually assured destruction at this point. I don't really see a nuke going off unless there's some like really weird accident. I don't see a country purposely like shooting a nuke at another country.
Yeah.
But like if people perfect these biological weapons where they can wipe out a people and leave all their wealth intact and for the picking, you know, that's a lot scarier to me, and something I could see people actually using, especially in a place as volatile as like the Middle East, you know. So, yeah, pretty scary shit.
Yep. Now I'm more scared.
All right. Anything else to add on that topic?
Good.
I hate it when my phone goes sideways. Oh, there we go. This story here is just a story where I'm like, man, some people really have just interesting lives that go interesting routes. Enough is enough. A judge refuses to jail transgender ex-neo-Nazi. I mean, being a judge is far from an easy job. There are no clear measurements for doling out justice for the accused crimes, and things might be left to individual interpretation. Recently, we got a perfect example of that. A U.S. judge decided to not jail a former neo-Nazi for threatening journalists and public figures. District Judge John C. Coffiner spared Tyler Parker DePepe, and that name is going to be used a lot.
Yeah, DePepe.
Parker DePepe, hyphen DePepe, 21 from a prison sentence. His reasoning was that the accused had already suffered enough, reported the AP. Parker DePepe, assigned female at birth under the name Taylor, is transgender and a former member of the white supremacist and neo-Nazi organization Atomwaffen Division. As a side note, the name is German for Nuclear Weapons Division. Coffiner said that the ruling was based on Parker DePepe's abusive childhood. He felt that sending him to prison would add nothing, particularly as Parker DePepe had voluntarily confessed and exhibited remorse for what he did. The judge admitted that the decision whether or not to lock up Parker DePepe was a difficult one, but in the end, mercy won. None of us have suffered the difficult situation this defendant has endured as a result of his gender identity confusion. Enough's enough, Coffiner said during the virtual hearing. Parker DePepe's former comrades were not a nice bunch, really. Since its founding in 2016, more than a dozen members of Atomwaffen, or its splinter group, Fear Creek Division, have been charged with federal crimes. Several members have even tried for killings and murder. The group has been linked to 2017 shooting in Tampa, Florida that killed 2 men and the killing of a California student in 2018. Parker DePepe, however, wasn't quite so deep in the neo-Nazi organization. Instead, according to the courts, he was a small fry who took part in an organized campaign to terrorize and harass journalists who had written unflattering stories about the group. The prosecutor said that 2 men, Cameron Brandon Shea from Washington and Caleb J. Cole from Texas, were the brains behind the harassment campaign. The 2 recruited members of Atomwaffen's 10-man strong Florida cell to help them out. One of those recruited was Parker DePepe. If a transgender neo-Nazi seemed strange to you, it was. He had concealed his gender identity from the group's other members. Parker DePepe was the only member of the Florida group who had a car. Therefore, he ferried his fellow members around and helped them affix posters to houses where they assumed the journalists lived. The posters featured swastika imagery and messages such as, "You've been visited by your local Nazis." Man, they don't try to hide it.
I know.
In addition to Florida, the group targeted journalists in Arizona and Washington. What drove Parker DePepe to the Nazis was a desperate search for companionship. His life up to joining the organization had been an endless mire of abuse and loneliness. Parker DePepe realized he was transgender at the age of 5 when he lived with his parents in New Jersey. While his mother supported him, his father wasn't pleased. He tossed out the boy clothes Parker DePepe's mother had bought him and started abusing him. This included choking him until he couldn't draw breath. Things weren't any better in school. Parker DePepe was a regular victim of bullying, which the school did practically nothing about. In fact, the school ended up paying $50,000 to Parker DePepe to settle a lawsuit he eventually raised against it. Yeah, we don't want to know what he had to go through. Parker DePepe eventually moved to Florida with her mother, but if you thought that let him escape his personal hell, think again. One day, his mother's new husband came home drunk and began to beat him once more. He ended up knocking one of his front teeth in and repeatedly smashing his head against the sidewalk. This led him to just seek acceptance, and unfortunately, he found it from these knuckleheads. That's a funny way to describe Nazis. Those knuckleheads. Parker DePepe's attorney, Peter Metzone, said during the court hearing. I guess there's just a little bit left. We'll go on. The prosecution acknowledged that Parker DePepe had a horrifying childhood and that it was even somewhat understandable that he'd thrown his lot in with any group that was ready to take him in. But that shouldn't have absolved him of his crimes, they argued. Parker DePepe instilled terror in his victims and contributed to the wide sense of fear and unease that many groups in this country understandably feel, wrote Assistant Federal Attorney Thomas Wood. However, the judge was more merciful than the prosecution. Coffiner took into account that Parker DePepe had confessed what he'd done to his mother soon after he participated in the poster stunt. He also told her that he was afraid the group would find out about his gender identity. His mother convinced Parker DePepe to come clean. They'd most likely find out eventually anyway. Unsurprisingly, the hateful organization kicked him out as soon as he was done telling them the truth. Man, I'm beginning to think these Nazis aren't going to grieve on people. Mazzone said that he lives in fear of retaliation to this day. While he was in custody, Parker DePepe had also made great progress in therapy. He's also got a steady job and married a supportive woman, Mazzone added. In light of all this, Coffiner sentenced Parker DePepe to time served, and he tearfully told the court he was ashamed of what he'd done. For his part, Chris Ingalls, a Seattle journalist and one of Adam Woffin's victims, said he was all right with the sentence. Even though the FBI says Parker DePepe was a low-level player in this plot, he was part of a terrifying crime that my family and other victims live with to this day, said Ingalls. I'm satisfied with the justice system's handling of this case, and I take Parker DePepe at his word that he is truly remorseful. So I just thought this person's story was kind of crazy. So like transgender, like shitty abusive childhood leads him to joining the Nazis. Then when they find out he's transgender, like of course, like kick him out. It just seems like a weird turn of events, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's, I mean, it kind of makes sense, though. Like, he was an outcast his whole life, so he wanted to join some group that would accept him. You know, it makes sense. It just sucks, you know?
You'd think, though, like, if you lived a life where, like, people hated you, like, because of something you couldn't, like, had no control over, like, you wouldn't want to
that's true,
join that.
It is very ironic.
Because it's like, you know, it's basically like being bullied and then joining, like, a big group of bullies, basically.
Yeah, and the Nazis killed homosexuals. So, I mean, it makes you think, like, he walked right into the lion's mouth.
Yeah, I'm surprised he even told him because, like, it could have gone really, really poorly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just read this story and I'm like, man, this person lived a life.
Yeah. One thing I don't like, I think it's good that you can look at the person's past and say, hey, look, this is why it happened, and they've learned from it, you know. But we should apply it to everybody, you know. Like, yeah, I think there should be more empathy, like, throughout the legal system like that, you know. Whatever they've been through, it does kind of, you know.
You do have to wonder, like, if this guy's story was almost the same, like abusive childhood and everything, but there wasn't the transgender thing on top of it, do you think the judge would have been as, lenient?
So. No.
Yeah, it seems a little shaky. But I mean, like, so many people who turn out to be heinous pieces of shit had abusive childhoods.
I mean, yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like, I can go either way. Either everybody should get punished, like, you know, they should, or everybody should get the empathy and, you know, be looked at the same way. So, I mean, if he was black, would he have gotten the same sentence? I don't know, you know.
He had to tell the Nazis he was black. They're like, what?
But I mean, like, if he was like from the inner city and he had like a rough upbringing and there are gangs everywhere and he was an outcast, like that's the story for a lot of people, and I don't think they get the same treatment. So. What race? He was white, right? Obviously.
Yeah, he must have been.
Yeah.
Asian.
Like, I thought you just had a really good tan.
There are some minorities in white supremacist organizations, man. Like, you'd be surprised.
There was like a Maury or something where the guy got a DNA test and like he's a white supremacist and it turned out he's like an eighth black or something.
I don't know if I said this before, but there was a couple that found out they were Jewish. And they were white supremacists. And then they became very Jewish. Extremely Jewish.
God, it's so crazy that people can just do a 180 like that.
Yeah, I don't get people either, man. I think they're just trying to fit in somewhere,
Yeah.
I mean... Yeah, I don't know. As long as he didn't kill anybody. But, man, if that was me and I was around people who were killing people, I would know better.
Yeah, nobody died, right? There was just like threats or something against journalists.
But the other people in the organization were killing people.
I mean, it sounds like, there was people in the organization that had killed people.
Oh, okay, so...
I don't know if in that specific, like, cell or whatever, but him and, like, the people in his immediate group were like threatening journalists and things like that. I did find it weird that like the poster straight up said like you've been visited by your local Nazis, because usually Nazis try to like gussy themselves up and say like they're some other sort of like pride some sort of like organization that's a cover. Yeah. Like patriots or something, they try to cover it up with some sort of language that doesn't say Nazi or white.
Yeah, they try to be more like pro-American.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was my very long-winded story. So, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Oh, this one grossed me out. Yeah, I'm going to do this one. Cleaner shows confidence in her good work by drinking the toilet water. Yes, by gulping down a cup of water from a squat toilet, a female cleaner in East China's Shandong province demonstrated extreme confidence in her work. However, the risky exhibition rightfully sparked concerns for her health on the internet. In a viral video, the cleaner presents a cup of toilet water in front of a group of people before drinking it all. The video quickly sparked controversy online, with many web users criticizing her behavior as unnecessary. Isn't it too weird to prove how she does a good job in this way? The video was filmed recently in a feed products company in Shandong and might have been uploaded onto the internet by a client of the company. Southwest China's Chengdu-based new media platform Red Star News reported on Tuesday the cleaner in the video is surnamed Luo and is a role model for the employees. What she did was not a requirement of the company, but her own voluntary decision. The purpose of her actions was to prove to the clients her attention to detail, hoping that all employees of the company would do their best in whatever role they have. An employee replied to the Red Star News saying that it is normal that people have different ideas. To some people, the squat toilet is a container for human waste, but it would be more acceptable if you regarded it as a container for water. An employee for the company confirmed to the media that the water quality does actually meet the standards required for drinking water. This reminds me of a TikTok video where a woman made like a mixed drink in her toilet.
Oh, right.
So she puts ice cream in it and all kinds of stuff, and then she like opens up the back, and then she flushes it so like it all mixes up together.
Well, I've heard of like people having those parties because I was in the Army. They talked about it, but they'll just get like not like a used toilet, but just like a toilet, and like put it on the counter, and everybody who shows up brings some kind of alcohol or something, and everybody dumps it in there.
All right, if it's not used,
if it's like a brand new toilet, it's porcelain.
It still mentally grosses me out,
right?
But I could work with that, sure. But I mean, I know people in prison make toilet wine, but they don't have a choice. Like they're stuck there, they can't do anything. They just want to get drunk.
Well, I'm interested in the logistics of toilet wine.
Yeah.
Because if you start it, you can't flush or use the toilet?
Yeah.
So you just like throughout the day, maybe you're out in the yard or something. Like you pinch. Like where do you go? Or they just have community toilets or community time?
I think you can just go into someone else's cell maybe and use their toilet.
Okay. Like
they
it's
open
open
them
during
up.
the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like,
you share your
nobody
wine.
use mine.
Yeah.
Seems like the guards that smell that shit brewing.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard
They probably pay them off, let them do it.
like I have a cousin who's been in and out of jail, and he talked about like making something with like orange juice, but like in like a garbage bag.
Okay.
So I guess that's kind of contained.
Yeah, that's more sanitary. I wouldn't. If I was in prison and I had to drink.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's not for me, man. When the people at the party found out that lady made it in a toilet, and this was not a new toilet. This was her toilet. That
Right,
was
cleaned.
Into the they were like, nope. They all poured it back in, and some people had already sipped it, and they're like, oh my god. And she was like all surprised and everything, like, what? What are you? Oh my god.
You wouldn't be grossed out if you did a good job, like me. I cleaned it, you guys. I cleaned it. You know how good I do.
Oh my god. There's nobody in the world could clean a toilet well enough.
All right, should we do manifesto round 3?
So I talked to you about this a little bit, but I don't think I talked about it Jay or on the show. So in Australia, there's this plant called the gimpy tree.
Sounds very Australian.
Right, but it's like this bush. It's related to nettles. But its nickname is the suicide plant.
I don't think you told me about this.
Yeah, so the nickname's suicide plant. And basically, if you're out there and you touch this thing, people who've touched it say it feels like you're on fire, like you're being burned with acid. Like it's just like the most wretched experience ever. And so the thing about this plant, like it grows like tiny hair needles, but they're made out of silica. So basically they're like glass, and there's just like billions of them, and they have a neurotoxin in them. So you hit it, you get like a billion needles in your arm, and they all have like fucking poison in them. But it's not bad enough to kill you. Like it's a neurotoxin, but it's not going to kill you, but it's excruciating. So it gets this nickname by that. There have been actually people who've been exposed to this, and instead of going through the pain, they've actually killed themselves.
Oh my gosh.
But it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so this is Australia. Like because it's made out of silica and stuff, it doesn't decompose. So like even if like there's like a dead bush or something or dead leaves on the ground and you touch them, like even like years later, it can still get you. And there's an incident where like a botanist was like they had a sample that was like in their their museum or whatever, and like years later, and she touched it and she got all fucked up. But yeah, one of the stories was an incident. There's like a commander in the army. I want to say it was like World War II, but like apparently like he dropped chow and like he'd wipe with it.
Oh, jeez.
And they just found him with like his pants down and like he shot himself in the head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that is just
Jeez.
yeah, it's got to be awful.
Like, how long does the pain last when you're exposed to it?
They say a lot of people will be like a couple months, just really shitty pain. But some people report pain like years later.
Oh my gosh.
Man, fuck Australia. Like,
Yeah.
I've said it before, like, not to people, but like, just they have these huge spiders. They have
Snakes.
Snakes. They had a plague of mice recently. Like, just no.
They got everything, man.
I don't want any
And
part of it.
kangaroos will beat the hell out of you. They are some big swole motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw this video on or GIF or something on Twitter, and like this kangaroo like comes up and like presses against somebody's like door glass, and he just has like abs, like he's fucking ripped.
Right, I've seen some where they look pretty ripped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I saw one like just like a blurb, like it was a picture of a kangaroo sitting out in the middle of a pond, and it said like if you ever see a kangaroo in the pond, don't go out there because he's trying to bait you in so he can drown you.
Dang.
Goddamn.
I was like, damn, man, even the kangaroos are trying to bait you.
Everything's out there, man.
I feel like even koalas are gonna fuck you up somehow.
Well, I mean, they are a type of bear, so I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be super trusting.
Don't they say like like get some kind of like high? They're always
I
eating
don't-
like that eucalyptus or whatever.
Well, it's slightly poisonous, and so they're like one of those animals that eats it, but then they just have to like lay around and sleep a lot to kind of. Get
Yeah,
it
so
through
I
their
think as
system.
long as they're like eating a steady supply of that stuff, you're probably pretty safe because they're pretty like
They're
tired.
doped up and sleepy.
Yeah, no, Australia was like a prison colony, so they saw that land before and they were like, nope, this place sucks.
Yeah,
Well, so
it's
much of it's just uninhabitable. You know,
Yeah.
it's like wasteland, but
like Mad Max territory.
Mad Max.
Yeah, and like the people who live out there, like they've evolved to live out there. Like the actual people.
Oh, the
who are from
Aborigines.
Yeah. I mean, because they've like tested it physically, like and nobody else can survive in like the kind of environments that they survive in.
Right.
Man.
Was that it for that one?
Yeah. Gimpy.
Man, we should have brought the discussion cards in
How,
again.
How far in are we? What time? What's our time?
We're getting close to an hour.
but how common is that plant? Like, is it everywhere? Is it?
Apparently, there's like a certain part where they have like more like rainforest territory. I think I want to say they said the Northeast, but I don't remember now.
Okay, so I mean, like,
It's like a certain area
Yeah, most of the cities are like in the southwest and stuff like that.
on the coast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I haven't done a hypothetical question in a long time, so I'll do one of these. And I haven't really given this much thought, but if you could make one thing that is now legal illegal, and one thing that is now illegal legal, what laws would you change? So, as far as the legal to make illegal, I mean, it would have to be like blatant like corporate donations to
Lobbying,
yeah,
yeah.
politicians. I would just make it completely illegal, no corporate donations. Or if not that, I would get rid of the electoral college because it's fucking stupid. As far as like things that are legal like even though I don't do drugs, I mean I guess legalizing all drugs.
I'm an easy sell on legalizing drugs.
But if I really had more time to think about it, there's probably a better like answer to that. But what do you guys think, just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I was the same way. First thing that came to my mind was lobbying. I was like, let's get rid of that. And when it came to legalizing, I was on board with legalizing weed. And when it comes to other drugs, like I'm sure it's a complicated issue. But for me, I think it's more beneficial to just give people their freedom and stop telling them what to do.
Yeah, I think government interference in the economy would be a good thing to get rid of.
Well, and that's the big thing that corporate donations causes.
I mean, also that's what laws against drugs are. You're fucking with an economy.
I just want, like, for the making what's legal illegal, like, I was like, what's going to have the biggest, like, structural change that'll, like, have a domino effect and, positively affect the most things? And, yeah, getting rid of corporate donations seems like the thing that would do that.
They used to have it used to be illegal to do, like, insider trading, but they've relaxed some of those laws in Congress so they can have, like, proprietary knowledge of something and invest in that before the public even knows about it. So that's something they do.
I mean, there's always going to be somebody who knows more than other people. I think that's almost unavoidable.
I mean, at that point, I guess you could just follow whatever they invested and try to do the same. Can you? With politics?
I mean, you can watch like, there are people who watch different reports and stuff and see what's happening and make predictions from that. But there's also people who just like follow Warren Buffett. They're like, oh, Warren Buffett's buying it, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's probably gone up a little bit at that point, but still, it seems like it works for some people.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. So, like, I saw that just recently, like, Elon Musk said that, like, Tesla isn't letting people pay for their stuff in Bitcoin anymore because, like, supposedly, like Bitcoin, they say is, like, bad for the environment. And, like, I never, like, How does cryptocurrency bad for the environment? Are they just saying that like the electricity or what?
Well, basically, the miners and the people who service the all the transactions, it is pretty like computation heavy. Like basically the cryptography that's being done is like billions and billions of times a second. But yeah, I mean, it depends on who's mining and what they're plugged into. So I mean, if you plug into regular electricity, a lot of that's made by coal. It depends where you're at and stuff. So
Yeah, that's what it was.
but I mean, you could run it off of your solar panels if you wanted to.
Yeah, but it's
What does
fossil
it mean
fuels.
though, mining exactly in the context of?
Mining is so basically like Bitcoin and stuff. They're set up statistically like during after so many transactions, it issues a Bitcoin to somebody who's done the last transaction. So it's kind of like a lottery. Like maybe 100 people will do, some calculations for the program, and then like one of them gets a Bitcoin. So it's kind of like this lottery system. But yeah, basically to support the entire system, you got a lot of miners, you got a lot of CPU, a lot of computation. So there are arguments that it's like to maintain the entire system is kind of excessive.
How did they
energy
even
needs.
like? How did they even determine this? Did they see like a spike in energy consumption, and then they somehow attributed it to that?
Well, basically, I think they just kind of do a rough calculation. They say, well, there's this many computations being done per minute. That requires this many servers doing this many computations. To run this many servers, you need this much energy. So,
I heard of like people in Eastern Europe who like steal the electricity from somewhere. And they like these. A lot of people there have these like rigs set up in their basements or something. Like, it's nuts. It's very
yeah, it
popular.
used to be that if the government saw somebody using a shit ton of electricity, or like in the winter they'd like fly around houses, and if they saw like
Drugs.
a hot house where all the snow's melted off the top, they just like, oh, they're
growing weed.
yeah, they're growing in there.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like they go and it's like it's Bitcoin miners.
Yeah.
But yeah, it produces a lot of heat. So, and some people, they just they got a ton of those things mining.
Yeah, and there's like a chip shortage because of that. Like, God, there was a story about a guy in China recently who sold one of his organs for one of those, what are they called, like graphic cards or chips or something?
Okay.
I'm not sure which one. Well, I think it's a chip, some sort of chip. But yeah, I mean, that's nuts, man. You're gonna sell an organ for one of those things, like,
Yeah.
and they're running like $3,000 or something. I'm not sure.
Even with pretty much anything like on like your normal like PC scale now, it's like the odds of like actually mining a Bitcoin are pretty small because there's so many like supercomputers even just doing this stuff.
Yeah, and Bitcoin, I think I don't know how many years, but they cut it in half how much Bitcoin you can get, right?
Right. So there's a finite amount that's supposed to be released, and I don't know when it ends. But yeah, it releases less and less, so eventually it'll be zero.
Man, cryptocurrency is like so far over my head. It seems so complicated to me.
Yeah, it does seem pretty.
It is complicated. Yeah, whoever figured out all that stuff was pretty smart.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, like, I would think, like, the government almost has to know who it is because it's a computer programmer. It's somebody deep into cryptography. It's like there's like a handful of people, who could have pulled this off.
So like they don't know the origin of Bitcoin exactly?
Nope. The guy just released the software. There's a name on it called
Some Japanese
Satoshi,
name.
something like that.
Yeah.
But no one's ever found anybody by that name, so it's probably a fake name.
I didn't know there was like this mystery at the root of Bitcoin. Like
Yeah,
who,
no,
It's
a big thing.
So how do you even like get it out there to the public? How do you make that a thing?
Basically, it's just open software that you can download and use.
So he like put it available to download, and people started downloading it.
People started using it.
Huh?
So is that like the blockchain technology?
Right. The blockchain is basically just all the data for all those transactions saved on everybody's computer who's mining. So
That way you can like see how politicians and charities and all those people are using the money. You can really track it.
Huh. I do wonder like how much energy it takes to like print physical money.
Yeah, digital money's definitely going to be the thing. They're just trying to figure out how to wrap it all up in, legal channels.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about that because, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm scared of, if all my money's digital, what if tomorrow I wake up and it says my bank account is just zero and because someone messed up? But it's like,
well, the way the
most people, unless they keep their money under a mattress, the vast majority of your money right now is digital. So
Yeah.
the only real way it could happen there, well, there's a couple ways. Like you've left your information where someone could physically steal it, or someone has created an entire like new level of mathematics because it's basically unbreakable.
yeah, it's not something I worry about, but I know there's people that do.
I would be way more nervous if I had my money, like if I had money, but if I had money like on a physical, like in my house, I'd be way more nervous.
Oh yeah, me too.
Just if you have lots of money, use different banks. Put $250,000 in each account.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if all money was digital, I think the other thing people don't like about it is like it makes crime a lot harder. It makes avoiding paying taxes a lot harder.
Well, it doesn't make crime harder because
Well, it makes concealing your transactions harder, right?
well, okay, so it's kind of like a plus and a minus to like Bitcoin. Like because all transactions are recorded, like if you know somebody's account number, then you know all their transactions. But if you have somebody who's not in the systems, like nobody knows their exact account number, you can run on like some dark web website and just pay whoever for whatever, and
Well, I didn't
completely hidden.
I didn't necessarily mean criminals using Bitcoin, but using like regular money. But if everything was digitized,
If everything was digital, you don't have like the cash option, like if you're in the system. But Bitcoin and things make it so you can go outside the system.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I bet you a lot of criminals these days are like learning to use Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's super widely used. If you want to buy mushrooms or LSD, like you go on the dark web with your Bitcoins and nobody ever knows.
Tell me about that. We'll discuss this offline.
Dark web, you say. Well, we're doing pretty good on time. Do you guys, any of you guys have like a particularly like funny story to go out on? I thought we had some interesting stories today, but I didn't have anything like really like funny or anything. So
Man, I got a couple dark ones. Oh, I saw one on Twitter. This woman forced a Dogecoin millionaire to come inside her at gunpoint when they're having sex. And they met on Tinder.
Oh man!
what, she like wanted a baby to like extort this guy?
To like apparently tie them.
It's the perfect crime because like he's got to take care of the kid. I don't know.
I mean, there are like gold digger like women who like really try to get knocked up by like professional athletes and stuff because if they do, they're set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the math. Like, you don't want one baby daddy. You want, like, several because you get more money from each person that way.
Interesting. Now, this is an economics... I feel like this should go to Freakonomics. They need to expand on this one.
I got a topic that I wouldn't mind putting out there.
Awesome, let's do it.
Economics of baby daddies. I don't know. I like the concept.
2 men say no to brawling after being defeated in street fight in merely 5 seconds. 2 men from Jianyang, northwest China's Shanxi province, recently amused netizens with a humble apology in which they admitted total defeat after being knocked out by another man in less than 5 seconds in a street brawl, and promised never to fight again because they cannot win anyway. The video shows the two men standing in front of a black Buick in heavy snow, with the man on the left saying, "I was the one knocked out in 5 seconds," and the one on the right saying, "I was knocked out in 3. The two were referring to an incident that happened on December 17th when several men and women got into a fight over a car that cut in front of them while driving in the intersection, or to the intersection of the Jianyang Expressway. They made a solemn promise to the general public that in the future they will abide by traffic rules and not drive in anger or fight with others, because we can never win anyway," his buddy explained. Soon afterwards, the man defeating the two appeared, explained that he's actually a boxer.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're just popping people and knocking them down.
Yeah, I've seen a video of another boxer do that to people too. Like,
Yeah.
when you're going up against a professional.
It's like it's not even close.
Yeah.
And I saw one with like someone tried to mug like a 70-year-old man, and he just dropped him. He's like, "Yeah, I used to be a professional boxer."
I mean, yeah, I guess it does matter. I didn't know, like, I know training at anything, you get better at it, but, fighting is like, maybe you're just born with it, you're good at it, I don't know. But no, you become a professional boxer, you're going to kick somebody's ass.
Man, I did taxes for this guy, and like I don't know like how much of an ass kicker he was, but like he was probably like in his 80s at the time I was doing his taxes, and like he told me that he used to be a professional bodybuilder, and like he used to actually work out with that Jack LaLanne guy back in the day.
Yeah.
And then, like, he had to come back in, and he actually brought, like, a picture of him back in his bodybuilder days. And he was, like, fucking yoked. So it was like, goddamn.
Man. Like a kangaroo.
All right, guys. Well, I think that'll do it for the show today. Anyone watching, please subscribe. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Give us a positive review on your podcast service of choice, and follow us on Twitter. Guys, where can people find you?
I am at a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care.
All right.